Down in a hole, losing my soul. A mysterious mass in a mysterious mass. And we can't forget the human umbilical cord / trash can. Oh, and don't worry, Dad is home. We will talk about all the clues and do some revisions to my theory in this week's video breakdown of HBO's scintillating sci-fi series Raised by Wolves. Hey everyone, I'm Brent the Middleman, your middle-aged middle manager in Middle America, so ready to admit where I was wrong, and even more ready to point out where I might have been right. If you are enjoying my videos and appreciate that I'm putting my theories out into the world nearly every other day, please consider subscribing, liking, and commenting. It really gets me pumped to make more videos, just like if Saul was whispering in my ear. Speaking of Saul, Marcus is wondering why his god has abandoned him, even deciding to check to see if he's hiding under his face. Nope, no god here. In my previous video, I theorized that the original Campion, the hacker on Earth who captured and reprogrammed a necromancer, the most dangerous weapon known to man, so it could be the mother of humanity on a new planet, had a plan for the new world that we were seeing play out on the show. I thought that he may have infiltrated the Ark's hypersleep simulation technology in order to be literally in the heads of the Mithraic. He is the one who told Otho to impregnate the sleeping girls, including Tempest, but I wasn't sure exactly why yet, but I think we got our answer this week, so more to come on that. I also said that Campion may have sent the five-pointed object that the voices told Marcus to use to burn the previous Mithraic leader. I thought it may have been a type of craft that transported the creature we see watching over the camp who was carrying the metal tarot cards the Mithraic found in the cave under the giant snake skeleton. I said that Campion may have sent this ahead, along with an android he is using as an avatar for his consciousness, knowing that the Mithraic believers would arrive on the planet at some point, and he could use these things to manipulate them into not harming Mother and Father's atheist colony. That is the gist of the theory, but if you'd like to hear the full thing first, then I'll put a link in the description. Okay, still here? Cool. I will be the first to admit, my theory had some holes. The biggest one being the non-human and non-android entity that was communicating with Mother in the simulation pod. He appeared as Campion to communicate with Mother, but this did not seem like the Campion we saw in Mother's memories. The real Campion wanted humanity to survive. This version of Campion tells Mother that humans are dying out and she should not bother with them because she is something greater. We also see that there are other pods spread around that it could have used to enter. It then plays on Mother's feelings for Campion and has simulation sex with her while the white fuel blood spills all over her. This seemed really strange at the time, but now we know it was this being's way of impregnating Mother. Or was it? I believe that this still could have been the plan of the original Campion, and we are meant to think that it is something different. The first episode this week is called Mass, and that is exactly what Mother finds growing in her stomach, a mass. Mother is losing her fuel blood and heads to the crashed ship to find an android doctor. Lucky for her, and for us, Carl, the android doctor, who is not a blood bag, barely survived and is ready to help. He has Mother remove her eye in order to look into her abdomen, and she sees the growth. She says her survival functions want her to remove it, but her caregiving function wants her to save it. Ladies, is this an accurate description of what pregnancy feels like? Carl tells her that it's not possible for her to be pregnant, but he also lets some really interesting information slip. He says that the Mithraic followed the instructions in their scripture to create the dark photons which make up Mother and the other necromancers, but admits they do not understand how it works. The Mithraic simply decoded the scriptures and followed the instructions like a model airplane. It also seems like they were going heavy on the model glue. In the show, on Earth, thousands of years in the future, the Mithraic religion re-emerged along with the artifacts and the scriptures they found, much like the tooth of Romulus or Remus that they found in the crashed ship. Romulus and Remus were two boys who were raised by wolves and went on to found the city of Rome. They were so devout that they warred with all the non-believers, even using their scriptures to create the necromancers, the ultimate killing machine. All of this eventually led to the destruction of the entire planet. What the show seems to be telling us now is that the beliefs of the Mithraic may have originated on Kepler 22b, the planet they are on in the show. Whatever this thing is that spoke to Marcus and gave the people at the camp visions of Tally, may have somehow sent the formula for creating the necromancers to Earth, and the people of Earth started worshipping this thing as a god called Saul. This new information, along with noticing the previous holes in my theory, has led me to revise my theory this week. There's definitely more going on here than just the original Campion trying to keep his colony alive. There is some advanced being on the planet that seems to be at odds with the original Campion's plans, but there also is a chance that it is part of Campion's plan. I believe there are two intelligent beings on the planet. One is the thing that is talking to Marcus and Paul, and the other that is in the form of the Watcher, which I believe to be an avatar of the original Campion, and that is why we have yet to see its face. I'm not entirely confident that original Campion is involved any longer, but there are a few things that keep me attached to this part of my theory, and to keep with the religious themes, it's a cross I'm willing to die on. For one, how did the thing on the planet speak to Otho on the Ark and tell him to impregnate the sleeping women? I feel like this must have come from inside the Ark system, unless the intelligence on the planet can communicate vast distances, which is entirely possible if the latter part of my theory is correct. The main question is, why would original Campion or the intelligence want him to do this? Otho seemed to serve one purpose, to get caught and put in the metal helmet, making him a perfect umbilical cord for Mother's growing baby. The technology for the helmet probably also came from the scriptures, which means the intelligence on the planet, or the original Campion, or both, would have been aware that this helmet's capability of transferring blood to another person. Why else would you have a button on there to transfer blood? Anyway, did the AI on the planet reach out to the Ark in space in order to get Otho ready for Mother? Or is it just a fortunate coincidence that the helmet allowed for blood to be drained from a living host? Or did Campion know about this and use it for his plans? For two, original Campion knew to capture a necromancer to be Mother, not only because she could protect them, but also because he knew that her fuel blood could be used to incubate human babies. He also knew that she could learn to feel human emotions that normal androids could not. Perhaps he even knew that necromancers were not intended to be used as weapons, but as a way to evolve humanity. How would he know all of this and not have a further plan once they reached the planet? I believe Campion knew she could become pregnant somehow, and may have even known that the mass was inside her because he put it there, and that it could be triggered to grow on the planet. Also, the Campion in the pod could have been telling the truth when he tells Mother that the human babies were just practice, and the baby inside her is the real mission. A stronger version of humanity, a mix of carbon and silicone and dark photons that he's set to be triggered on the planet by this other intelligence, and set up Otho to be her umbilical cord. Episode 9 is even titled Umbilical. I believe original Campion knew this either because he understood what the scriptures on Earth were really intended for, or that he is a descendant of the race of people that we saw on Kepler when Mother looked into the tarot card left by the hooded figure, who may be an avatar of the original Campion, and he knew what the dark photon energy was capable of. Earlier in the season, Mother seemed to be malfunctioning and traveled to the Ark to kill everyone. This could have all been programmed into her by Campion. Campion never intended for the human race to survive. He knew it couldn't, so he used his knowledge of the scriptures not for religious teaching, but as a scientific journal, a guide for creating new life that can last. And according to scriptures, creating this new life needed a necromancer and the intelligence on Kepler. We also see the young Campion say hello to the baby and Mother. The baby seems to react negatively to Campion, a sign that it could be dangerous to humans. I believe that we will see Mother forced to choose between her own baby and Campion and the other humans she is beginning to care for. We also see Otho become Super Otho after an injection of Mother's blood and the fetus blood. This could be foreshadowing for what happens to Marcus after being forced to eat Mother's eye. Since nobody understands the dark photons, including Mother, when Marcus comes back fully healed and super strong, the others will think it was Saul. Perhaps even the hooded figure will get to Marcus and help him to harness this new energy, and that is when we will get their backstory. The main battle the show seems to be setting up is between the humans, with help from the Watcher, and whatever the intelligence is that made Paul destroy the tarot cards and made Marcus keep Mother alive. The Watcher obviously wanted Mother to see the tarot cards because only she is capable of seeing into them. The Watcher wants to win her over to his side because he knows the intelligence on the planet is dangerous. We saw the ceremony the hooded figures were holding around one of the holes with the creature in the smaller version of the five-pointed object. The other intelligence seems to want to stop Mother from having this knowledge. It makes Paul destroy the cards and then manipulates the electronics on the helmet to reverse the blood flow back to Otho, giving him the strength and energy to kill the humans. The part with Otho is extra interesting because if the intelligence on the planet is the thing manipulating the electronics of his helmet, why would it want to risk the life of the baby if it's the one that impregnated Mother? This is what makes me think there is much more going on here than just the intelligence and the Watcher, and that original Campion is involved with the pregnancy somehow. The key to all of this is the ceremony we saw. The creature looked like it was being born from the five-pointed object, and it was spitting up what looks exactly like Mother's white fuel blood. I also believe the hooded figures used the creatures on the planet to birth it. That is why it looks similar to one of them, which means Mother's baby may look more human. Then, as the intelligence grew, it needed a new home, much like a growing sea creature shedding one shell for another. The larger five-pointed object we saw in the desert could have been its larger home, which is why it can still manipulate it. I believe that it has even outgrown that and is now using the entire planet as its shell. This is why the holes left behind by snake creatures are warm, because the intelligence is down in there. That is also why what falls in the holes is able to come back, like the mouse and Tally. When they fell in the hole, it gave the intelligence access to their bodies somehow, and it is using them to keep tabs on the humans so it knows when to whisper to them. Mouse is with Paul, so the intelligence knew that Paul had a chance to destroy the cards. It could also be the reason the snake creatures went extinct, as it took over their home inside the planet, just like a larger crab killing another for its shell. If it is this big, then that also could explain how it was able to communicate with Otho on the Ark out in space, and how it could have possibly sent instructions to Earth for the humans there to create once they evolved enough. My other theory is that the snakes are the arms of the intelligence, but it is dying. That is why we see all the bones. I think that it is regaining strength though, maybe because of Mother and Father's ship that fell in the hole, and that is why we see Father find the shedded skin of one of the snakes. So what does this intelligence want? I think it wants what we all want. It wants to reproduce, and I think it needs energy to regrow. Somehow the Campion on Earth either wanted Mother to help the intelligence spread, or he was just following the instructions like the Mithraic when they first built the Necromancers, and just like the hooded group we saw first birthing the being. But the hooded Watcher is trying to stop this because he knows how dangerous the thing is, because he and his kind created it. There is also a good chance that it will take over Marcus's body as a plan B, which will be more powerful after absorbing Mother's necromancer eye. The Mithraics will believe this intelligence to be Saul, and may believe that Saul has risen Marcus from the dead, much like Christ. The intelligence may also have been manipulating original Campion because it knew it needed human plasma to reproduce, and the creatures on the planet were dying off and were locked away until the Ark crashed and freed them. Maybe the intelligence had been feeding on them. It would also explain the huge magnetic field around the tropical zone, which prevented the Ark from landing there. Maybe that is where the head and the brain of the creature is. So yeah, I can't wait for them to head there in the show. Well, that's my revised theory. A planet-sized, half-carbon, half-robot intelligence manipulating humans so it can reproduce, and one mysterious hooded creature trying to stop it. I still believe that original Campion had more of a plan than just sending Mother, Father, and the embryos to the planet. I think we will find he was either working with the intelligence or the Watcher, which we will find out when the Watcher is unmasked next week. Either way, there's a much larger game going on here, with the future of humanity as we know it at stake. As always, please leave your thoughts and theories in the comments so we can discuss them together. Once again, I'm Brent the Middleman. Thanks for watching.